Violence shall no more be heard in thy land, wasting nor destruction within thy borders. But thou shalt call thy walls salvation, and thy gates praise. The sun shall be no more thy light by day, neither for brightness shall the moon give light unto thee. But the Lord shall be unto thee an everlasting light, and thy God thy glory. Thy sun shall no more go down, neither shall thy moon withdraw itself. For the Lord shall be thine everlasting light, and the days of thy mourning shall be ended. Thy people also shall be all righteous. They shall inherit the land forever, the branch of my planting, the work of my hands, that I may be glorified. A little one shall become 1,000, and a small one a strong nation. I, the Lord, will hasten it in his time.
The ocean spirit dances today to abundance and joy and to eternal peace.
Jake about to live, man. Jake about to truly live forever. And how we gonna tap in? Through this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, which is gonna lead us into eternal life. This wisdom is gonna bring us into the kingdom of heaven, which starts with the elect. And Lord's will, we are those men. This is the book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 6, and verse 17. And it reads, "For the very true beginning of her," and her represents wisdom, "for the very true beginning of her is the desire of discipline, and the care of discipline is love, and love is the keeping of her laws, and the giving heed unto her laws is the assurance of incorruption. Therefore the desire of wisdom bringeth to a kingdom." So this wisdom is going to bring us into the kingdom of heaven, because it starts with the Lord's men. "If your delight be then in thrones and scepters, O you kings of the people, honor wisdom, that you may reign forevermore." You see?
To the glory of our golden age, may it shine forever.
So we're going to reign forever. Lord's willing, we are part of the elect.
Let us be glad and rejoice and give honor to him, for the marriage of the Lamb is come, and his wife hath made herself ready. And to her was granted that she should be arrayed in fine linen, clean and white. For the fine linen is the righteousness of saints. And he saith unto me, Write, blessed are they which are called unto the marriage supper of the Lamb. And he saith unto me, These are the true sayings of God.
All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Kakadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples towards younger brothers, and peace and blessings and salutation to the hopeful lake out there pushing his word in truth and in sincerity across the four winds in the name of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Kakadash. Shalom to the elect, hopeful late believers, listeners who have came back to the truth, all right, through this word, to the truth and obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Shema Shah, all right, and what I want to get into with the live screen is, we haven't started living yet, and it's a live screen based on, a lesson that the beloved elder brother Hobb did, the head brother down in GMS Mississippi camp, and he went into a lesson going into we won't start living until we get in the kingdom, and it's absolutely true, because, the Lord, we're in, our captivity, and the Lord does, give us, good pockets of comfort here and there, little things here and there. All right. But compared to what we got to look forward to in the kingdom, we haven't started yet. We're still, the tail of this society. All right. And this society, is ran by the wicked. So we're the tail in the wicked society. All right. So there's no way that we've started living, you know. We're going to live with Yahweh Shai, and that's, the Lord got us in these situations, these circumstances to make us haste today. It's meant for us not to get too comfortable. It's meant for us not to get complacent in this society, man. The Lord keeps us on the edge, and we get, these reminders every so often, that this is not our rest, man. And it always makes us look forward to what's to come, because when things happen or affliction or certain things, man, it make us haste for the kingdom. It make us haste the day of Yahweh Shai, man, and it numbs us more to this world. You see, it will the elect, man, the Lord, he's going to constantly numb us to this world, man. So when he really collapse this kingdom, we won't be affected, man. We won't have it won't have any pull on us. It won't have any sway on us, man. So the Wadi Al Bashim Al Shah, for making us numb, all right, to this kingdom, man, and having us excited for the kingdom to come. Okay, when we're gonna really live, man, we're gonna be with Yahweh Shai. We're gonna live, man. Okay, so I want to get some precepts. Let's go here to the book of Colossians, chapter 3. Okay, in verse 1, it says, this is the NLT, it says, since you have been raised to a new life with Yahweh Shai, set your sights on the realities of heaven, where Yahweh Shai sits in the place of honor at the Most High's right hand. Yeah, man, and the more we, lean into Yahweh Shai, as our faith grows, as our understanding grows, man, we really begin to see the reality of what the Lord is getting ready to bring. This thing becomes a reality to us, man, to the point that it can get overwhelming. You think of how close we are to the kingdom, how close we are to the Lord, making these promises a reality, man. Just thinking about it sometimes it's kind of, overwhelming. Your heart gets to beating fast, man. Like when you really think about, what the Lord is getting ready to do, the reality that he's going to bring to the earth, man. This is going to be a reality. The things that we read about, the promises, man, and then these minds can only comprehend so much. That's why we can't even comprehend the goodness of the Lord until we get in those new bodies, man. That's why I say we haven't started living yet, man. And it should be easy for us to die to this world, man. As we begin to believe more and more and understand more and more in the world we got to come. Okay, so think about the things of heaven, not the things on earth, man, because the earth is corrupted by Esau. Everything in this society is corrupted, man. Everything has been tainted and defiled by Esau. Everything has a residue of Esau on it, man. Okay, the food, the women, all right, the money, the economy, whatever you can think of, all right, everything has been tainted, man. The wine, the strong drink, whatever you can think of is tainted by Esau some type of way, man. And the Lord, we're tainted. You see, we're still healing from the trauma and the insecurities of, Babylon, man. We're tainted, man. So we're a work in progress, man. And that's why we should be more in tune what we are becoming, man. Okay, and not the affairs of this world, man. We should be more and more detached from the affairs of this world, and linked into what the Lord got going on, man, and what the Lord has us becoming, man. Because there's still a lot of work for us to do until the chariots come, man. We're a work in progress, man. But it feels good becoming what the Lord wants us to be, man. There's a feeling that we can't get from this world, man. It don't come from money, don't come from women, don't come from drinking, whatever. It don't come from clout or popularity in this world, man. There's a feeling we get, when we're becoming what Yahweh Bashim Al Shah wants us to be, man, that we don't get on earth. That feeling doesn't come from this earth, man. It comes from the heavens, man. You see? It says, for you died to this life and your real life. You see that? You died to this life, man, because this ain't living, this ain't life, man. We can tell this setup is not for an Israelite man. This is not for an Israelite man. You know, this setup is not for an Israelite man, and this is completely counter to how the Lord made us as Israelites, man. It's not set up for you Israelite women, you know. But you've been so warped, and you know, you because a woman that just, you know, she loves the head position, the head of the house, the head of the nation. She don't give a damn if it's in shambles, but that ego rush of being the head, man. You know, she don't care how counterproductive it is for her. She don't care how self-destructive it is for her, man. You know, women have it's a stronghold, you know, with that power that was given to Eve by the serpent, man. You know, and like I said, we're all work in progress, man. You see, but the goddamn what was given to Eve, man, Eve, you know, is you see, majority of the American women, man, you see, it's hard for them to let that shit go, man. You know, but nah, man, we died to this life, man, because this ain't living, man. Okay, it says, and your real life is hidden with Yahweh Shai in the Most High, man. So Yahweh Shai is coming with our real life, man. We start to live when Yahweh Shai comes, man. Right now, as a man, you got to tiptoe around. You got, you know, you really don't have any power like you to do like you need to do, man. So that's why, you know, we rest in Yahweh Shai, man. You know, our real rank, our authority is coming. Yahweh Shai coming back with all that, because the Lord is punishing. We the sons of God, and we fumble. So the Lord stripped us from power. He stripped us from authority. You know, He stripped us from all our rights as the sons of God, man, because we didn't appreciate it. You know, so it's not a thing like we just in some unfortunate situation. We understand, like, nah, this because of what we did. You see, this because of what we did, and the Lord wants us to come to this realization, like, nigga, you're not living. Okay, you had it made, you're not living, man. Even when you go back and look how our forefathers, man, they was living. Okay, well, it wasn't perfect. It wasn't, you know, what we got coming. All right, but they had sovereignty, they had authority, man. Okay, what we got now, man, this ain't it. Our real life is here with Yahweh Shai, man, and that's why we gotta wait till Yahweh Shai come back, man. You know, to go out there and try to play like you running something, and the Lord show us, man. All these niggas with billions of dollars, man, they got the same problem we got, man. Okay, all these niggas trying to make themselves popular on the internet. Guess what? They baby mom can get out of the pocket, and they got the same nigga. They got the same problems as a nigga on this antique couch, man. Okay, that's why I don't even want to play like, you know what I'm saying, like I'm that guy, or I'm this powerful, and you know, like I got this authority, man. This shit play. Okay, shit play school, man. Okay, we don't have no authority, man. The biggest icon amongst our people don't have no goddamn authority, man. Jay-Z don't have no authority, man. Okay? LeBron, them niggas don't have no authority, man. Them niggas not living, man. Because the rituals and things that they had to do, man, they're worse off than us, man. Okay? But the Lord, hey, He constantly shows us that, nigga, this ain't the play. This ain't our rest, man. We got something way better, man. You know? And it was meant for us not to be comfortable here, man. Jake trying to get comfortable. I said Jake try to play like they got this authority and power, like they some type of icon. You know, they got the graphics on the flyer. Jake was in the thrones. You know, Jake coming in, you know, Passover on the horses. Okay, but Jake, you know, Jake one text message thread away from losing every goddamn thing, man. Okay, hey, come on, man. And got no power here. You just gotta face it. It's just what it is, man. The Lord give us authority, you know, in our personal situation, you know, over us, man. You know, because really, and the Lord got it set up like that, man, because our true escape, you know, because when we start to feel alive, is even when we tap into Yahweh. As a matter of fact, that's why I say it says, for you are dead to this life, and your real life is hidden with Yahweh Shai in the Most High. For Yahweh Shah, who is your life, who is your life. And see, this is why the Lord got it, but we're not comfortable in this world. You know, and it's good that it's like that, man. So we can run to Yahweh Shah for refuge and for rest, because that's when we feel alive. You know, when we're teaching, when we're reading, because it's like we're escaping this current world. You know, when we do a lesson or when we read, when we pray, you know, it's like we're escaping this current world, man. You know, that's the only time we truly feel alive, man. When you're amongst the brothers, that's when we feel alive. You know, that's why fellowship is good, man, because that's an extension of Yahweh Shah, man. Okay, when we can really excel, man. You see, so when we, you know, serving Yahweh Shah, man, that's the only time we really truly feel alive, man. You know, because once you go back into the world, you playing by Esau rules, man. Okay, everything is going by Esau rules in this world, man. You know, you can have a little setup, man, but at the drop of a dime, man, Esau rules overrule whatever we can try to set up here, man. You know, that's why we're not to get too attached to anything, okay, in any situation, man, because at any moment, man, Esau can overrule, okay, whatever little thing we got set up, man. Okay, it says, and when Yahweh Shah, who is your life, is revealed, the whole world will share in all his glory, man. And that's the world of Israel, and that's beginning with the elect. Okay, you see, and the whole world's going to see, the whole world that survived the judgment, they're going to see, you know, true glory, you know, that the men of the Lord have, man. They're going to see the true Lord that the elect have, men, women, and children, because we're all going to be changed, man. And the whole world, because Yahweh Shah is going to be revealed to the world, and we're going to be revealed to him in glory. You know, I think I misread that, you know. So it is speaking of Yahweh Shah being revealed to the whole world when he comes, you know, and conquers the earth in righteousness. And we're going to be changed, you know, and we're going to be brought up in those chariots with them, man. And they're going to see us go up in those chariots, all right, in those new bodies, man. Okay. You know, we're going to have we're going to be immortals. We're going to be turned to immortals in front of these people, man, in front of the whole world. That's why I say, why chase internet popularity when the Lord gonna make us immortal in front of the whole world? Okay, why try to be popular on social media and Facebook and all this? You know, and it's all fake. You see, it's not true power. You see, I'd be embarrassed looking at some of these jakes, man, pretending like they got power, man. It's not. You don't have real power. Care how many women you got in the picture with you. Don't care how much money you got in the picture with you. What car you got, nigga. You don't got no power. Okay, another nation is ruling over you. You don't have no power. All right, one woman can ruin your whole thing. Or it could take you decades to build an empire. One woman can come in 2 months and destroy your ass, man. You don't got no power. Okay, but when Yahweh Shah comes, we're gonna have real power. We're gonna have real sovereignty, man. Okay, and we're gonna get the best of the best, man. You see, we ain't living yet. We're going to live. You see, so let's go from there. Because even when you go into the book of Hebrews chapter 11, even when you go into, you know, Abraham, you know, which the Lord, you know, blessed him with everything. You see, but it wasn't in his time. All right, this is Hebrews 11:8. It said it was by faith that Abraham obeyed when the Most High called him to leave home and to go to another land that the Most High would give him as his inheritance. He went without knowing where he was going. You know, and Abraham, he moved off faith. You know, he moved based off the promises, man. Okay, and he left, you know, his world. You know, he left his father's house, which means he left an inheritance. You know, and that was a thing of disgrace. You know, to abandon your father. You know, because you're supposed to be what, your father's heir. you know, to his legacy, to what he had going on. Abraham left it, man. You know, just as we left, you know, the world we came from. Okay, black culture, Christianity, whatever it was, man. We left that, you know, and began to follow Yahweh Shem Al Shai, even when we didn't fully understand, okay, where we was going, you know. But as we continue to follow Yahweh Shem Al Shai, things get clearer and clearer, man. And that's how we know we ain't living, because you're increasing wisdom, you're increasing sorrow. Because as we understand how it should be, and we see how far we fail as a people, man, it's like, God damn. You know, but the Lord wants us to sit in this shit, man, especially the sons of God, you know, the men, especially if we are the first fruit, man. He really wants us to sit in that shit, man, you know, because we fumble the rulership, man. You see, so he wants us to sit and dwell in this, man. You know, every now and then he'll, you know, hit you with the mental stripes, man. You know, get right, goddamn it. You see, it says he went without knowing where he was going, and even when he reached the land the Most High promised him, he lived there by faith, for he was like a foreigner living in tents. And so Isaac and said, and so did Isaac and Jacob, who inherited the same promise. Abraham was confidently looking forward to a city with eternal foundation, a city designed and built by the Most High. Okay, so Abraham wasn't content with that situation. He knew it was something better. He knew what the Lord promised him was above his current situation. Okay, he knew that what the Lord was going to promise him was far off, man, but he believed. You know, he kept the faith. You see? And now we're in that time where, hey, we're finna inherit, you know, these new bodies, you know, the kingdom, man, because the foundation of the kingdom is what? The people, the elect. Okay? And the elect are going to have, you know, bodies that are not of this earth, man. You see? We're going to have bodies that's not of this earth. You see, that we're getting ready, these spirits are getting ready to inhabit, man. You know, and then in those bodies, we can come and enjoy the earth, man, forever, man. You know, with those upgraded bodies, man. Okay? You know, like the women going to be changed and reset. Okay? They're not going to have the mind that they have now. Okay? Because these women now, they operate off of Esau programming. You know? Like they like Esau programming is heavily instilled into the woman. It's certain things in us too, man. Like I said, we're a work in progress, man. Okay, but it's so heavy, you know, in the woman is meant to be like that, man. So we don't get comfortable. Okay, so it's not even, you know, you don't even take it personal like that. You just know what it is. Like, okay, you know, you just peep situation and you know what it is. That's why, you know, it's not, you just got to be crashing out on your woman every, you know, you and your woman, y'all do what you do, but you know that's that crashing out over every little thing, bro. It's not gonna be right. Okay, you know, even if she trying to do the right thing, bro, it's not gonna be 100%, bro. We ain't there. You know, we all work in progress, man. Okay, so this ain't the situation. This ain't the eternal situation that the Lord got for us, man. Okay, we just passing through. Okay, I say we all healing. Okay, we're healing, man. You see? So let's go from there, because even when you go, let's just do a comparison. Let's get this in let's get this in the book of First Kings, chapter 4. All right, in verse 22. Well, started at 20. This First Kings 4 and 20 said, the people of Judah and Israel were as numerous as the sand at the seashore. They were very contented, all right, with plenty to eat and drink, you know. And this was our people. This was all our people, man. You know, that was in a good case, man. Plenty to eat and drink, abundance, man. Okay, you had no grocery stores, you didn't have no inflation. Okay, you had your own substance, you had your own estates. Okay, you had your own vineyards. Okay, your own livestock, man. You had own everything, man. We had servants, because King David, was conquering these heathens. So we had heathen servants back then, man. You see? It said Judah, this is 1 Kings 4:20 in the KJV, said Judah and Israel were many as the sand which is by the sea, and multitude eating and drinking and making merry. Man, we was good, man. We had big families. We had to, this nigga got something called a childless economy, man. Come on, man. Here it is. We meant to multiply and be fruitful, man. The Israelite man was meant to have, big families, man. Multiple women and several children, man. That's how we're programmed, man. Okay, now this ain't expedient, this is for damn sure not the time to be trying to heap up women. Every brother got what they got, whatever. Okay. Like I say, then the setup ain't even, built for that. That's what I'm saying. We haven't started living because that setup ain't even built for that, man. For how we're really supposed to be. But it's a thing of patience. The Lord wants us to wait because He wants to sit in this, man. Marinating in this punishment, man. And it's refining us, man. This captivity is refining, the elect, making us meet to be joint heirs with Yahushua, man. We're being perfected through the suffering. So, we can't rush the suffering. We got to get through it. And we're not here pouting. We're not here. It is what it is. Really, you get to a point to where you laugh at most things, man. you laugh at most things because we know why. Because the source of it goes back to us, going off, man. That's the source of it, man. So we got to take it on the chin. We deal. You see, this 1 Kings 4:25, it says, "In Judah and Israel dwell safely, every man under his vine and under his fig tree, from Dan to Beersheba, all the days of Solomon," man. Okay, so every Israelite house, man, had their own substance and was good, man. Okay, wasn't no jack boys, wasn't no games. Okay, men had their own women, children was plentiful. You see, substance was plentiful. Okay, we had order, we had structure, man. And this was just a prelude. What we got coming is going to be on another level than this, man. So we went from that to when you go to the book of Amos, right? It's the book of Amos, chapter 7, in verse 17. And it says, "Therefore, thus saith the Lord, Yahweh Bashem Al-Shah, thy wife shall be an harlot in the city, and thy sons and thy daughters shall fall by the sword, and thy land shall be divided by line, and thou shalt die in the polluted land, and Israel shall surely go into captivity forth of his land." Okay? So this is what we went from 1 Kings, to every Israelite house. It was order, it was structure. You see? Thriving families, thriving nation. Drinking and being merry, enjoying each other's company, man. Okay? To thy wife is a harlot in the city, man. It's a punishment, man. You see, and the Lord, because like I say, He stripped us from power. He took the woman from us, man. He wants us to feel this shit, and it's a mental thing. So we don't have the chains on, okay, in this generation, but it's a mental thing now. It's a mental chastisement. You see, He stripped us down to nothing, man. And then, like I say, He wanted us to sit in this, man. He really wanted His sons to sit in this shit, man. We want to sit in this mess that y'all made. Okay, you wanted to do what you wanted to do. You could think you thought you had it figured out. Without me, cool. This the results. And see, even beyond, the Lord was angry. He put us in captivity, went through chattel, the chattel slavery, man, that hardcore bondage. And even then, even when we was when we got out of chattel slavery, okay, We was in a system that didn't operate by the law, statutes, and commandments. So it still led to what? Dysfunction, man. So the Lord, he physically, punished us, you know. And then he put us in, post-child slavery in the system, okay, that doesn't run by the laws we was given, and now we're looking at the results of that, man. Now we're living in the results of that, the dysfunction, okay, the violence, the manipulation, it's just a big shit show, okay. Explain our people, man, and each generation get worse, man. So the Lord showed us like this is what it's like. This is what your reality is like, without the wisdom, without operating the wisdom that I gave you. You want to do something else, cool, go do that. But this how it's gonna turn out. Wife or harlot in the city, your sons and daughters die by the sword. Okay, and that's the norm now. It's so normal that it's just what it is, man. Okay, to the point to where it's the generation where the women call themselves what? Young hoes. Okay, well that's the punishment, of the Lord, man. Because you destroy, you take, a nation's woman. The Lord took the whole nation of women and just put them out there, man. You see? Then the youth, they have this it's just animosity towards each other. They just shoot each other up for nothing. Then our land is just polluted by the heathen, man. This was meant to be a major punishment, man. The Lord put us in like a confinement, to where we just gotta watch this. Then He took the power away, so we just gotta watch it and deal. You see? So now, man, this ain't the play, man. But the joy is we see what's coming. We see our power at work, and then there's an inner peace we have in Yahushua. So now it's to the point to where the joy that's in us in Yahushua, it's overcoming the situation we in. And then we got wisdom, so we learn how to move better, man. To where it's not such a burden. We still here and we know this ain't it. The Lord remind us that this ain't it. Okay. But we have this wisdom and we got this joy in Yahushua to where it's not such a burden, man. Well, okay, we can lock in. We can deal with the vexation, but then we can balance it out with the joy, that's in Yahushua. Okay, so let's go here because I want to get this real quick too. Let's go here. It's the book of Rock 40 and 28. It says, "My son, lead not a beggar's life, for better is it to die than to beg." You see that? And we're in the position of a beggar. Okay, you gotta beg for a job, you gotta beg for a loan, you gotta beg for credit, you gotta fill out an application. You're filling out an application, you're begging. Okay. You need permission for water, you need permission for lights, you need permission for this, a permit for this, a license for this, taxes for this. This is a beggar life, man. You see? So it says, for better it is to die than to beg. So and there's no way we started living in the position of a beggar, man. Okay? It says the life of him, and then there's especially the Israelite man, man. They want the Israelite man to explain every decision he make. He gotta explain step by step every day. Just gotta explain. You see, this ain't it, man. All right. It says, verse 29. It said, the life of him that depended on another man's table is not to be counted for a life. Okay. And this Esau's table, this his shit. You gotta go to him for the want of all things. All this Esau shit, man. Okay, everything this is all Esau shit, man. Okay, this just a little current situation we in, man. Okay, these Esau women, they come with his programming. You see, they have a built-in programming from this nigga, man. You know, this is all Esau shit, man. You see, it said, for he polluted himself with another man's meat. That's why the more you indulge in this world, the more you pollute it, because it's tainted by Esau. You know, the more you deal in this world, the more polluted we become, because all this shit is tainted. Okay? Like I was saying, that's why, you know, there's work to do on us, because we've been tainted by this, man. You know? But see, the truth, man, it gives us, you know, the Israelite men, it gives us our self-esteem back, man. You know, give us our purpose back. See, Esau can't take that. See, when we got our identity, we understand who we are, who our power is, we tap back into our purpose, man. You know, because our self-esteem doesn't come. See, in the world, our self-esteem came from the external, you know, being popular, having clout in the neighborhood, having certain women, you know, having certain type of cars, certain type of money, being in this clique. See, that's what our self-esteem was rooted in the world. But now our self-esteem is rooted in Yahweh Shah, man. Like, no, we serve the king, man. You know, now that's Big Bro. We know who Big Bro is now. We know who our Heavenly Father is, man. You know, we don't need the clout of this world, man, and we know who we are. We know what's coming. You see? And see, the world can't take that. You see? That's the thing that's not tainted, that's pure. You see? But when you deal in this man's system, in this man's world, everything is polluted. You just pollute yourself, man. You know, it says, but a wise man, well nurtured, will be beware thereof. Begging is sweet of the mouth of the shameless, but in his belly there shall burn a fire, man. So you have to be shameless to be content with this. You know, to be okay with being a slave and being in another man's kingdom, you have to have no shame. Okay, that's one thing. Like I said, when we wake up to the truth, man, it gives us a ruling class mentality too, man. That's how we understand, like, this ain't the play, man. You know, as we're getting our ruling class mentality back, man, we like, nah, man. Nah, man, you can't unsee it, man. You can't go play these little stupid ass games with these people, and we seeing what we know, and we seeing what we see. Okay, you can't, you know, play them games like, no, we can't unsee it, man. This ain't the play. You know, I couldn't even begin to do most of the things I used to do, to be, you know, how I used to be, trying to, you know, play along. No, man, damn that, man. And then it just keep escalating to, you know, we just cutting more and more of this world off, man. Cutting more and more of that old man and his old ways and his perspectives off, man. You know, we can't do it anymore, man. And that's how we know we're getting close to the Lord, you know, getting us out of here, man. Okay? And in fact, let's go here. Let's get one more. We'll get a couple more. Right? Yeah. So let's go here to First Samuel. It's already on it. First Samuel 2. All right, and 7, it said, the Lord make it poor and make it rich. He bring it low and lift it up. You know, and we're all at the mercy of the Lord. You know, and the Lord, he has brought us low. He put us in a poor state. Okay? But that same power is going to lift us up, man. He's going to make us rich. And see, he's going to be rich in wisdom. See, that's another thing we look at, you know, we begin to look at wealth differently, man. You know, Esau got this spirit of get rich or die trying. You know what I'm saying? This, you just obsessed with this concept of money, man. But now that we've been broken down and the Lord is building us back up, you know, our foundation is in righteous wisdom. You see, the earth needs righteousness, man. The wealth is there. You know, the earth gonna give forth abundance. The wealth gonna be there, man. Because Esau got, you know, he have you chasing wealth like it's disappearing, and then because he got you chasing his concept of wealth, which is money. You know, so you just on this continual chase like it's disappearing, man. But the earth shoots forth wealth, man. Okay, So even with, the concept of money, man, these paper money, this ain't real, man. That's what I'm saying. These niggas that have all this paper money, man, that don't transfer the true power. Okay? The Lord gonna give us true power, man. We're gonna be rich in power. We're gonna be rich in wisdom. Okay, and wealth is the default to that, man. Okay, that come with it. You see, and it says he raised up the poor out of the dust and lifted up the beggar from the dunghill to set them among princes and make them inherit the throne of glory. For the pillars of the earth are the Lord's, and he set it the world upon them. You see that? So he raises the poor out of the dust, out of confusion, and out of a low place, and lifted up the beggar. Remember, the beggar's life is not a life to be counted for. It is better to die than be a beggar, man. Okay? So the Lord said he's going to lift the beggar out of the dunghill, man. Okay? Nah, man, we're going to get to be us, man. We're going to get to be our authentic self in this kingdom, man. And the Lord got us becoming our authentic self now. And the kingdom is going to be, man, you see? It says to set them among princes and to make them inherit the throne of glory. For the pillars of the earth are the Lord's, and he have set the world upon them. He have set the world upon them, man. So everything, belongs to Yahweh Bashim Al-Shai. He's going to give everything to his sons. You see? We got everything coming, man, and the Yahweh Shai coming with their reward. He coming with their power. Let's get that in Isaiah. And see, now we understand the responsibility of power. Not just having power for power's sake. Nah, man. The earth needs to be ran in righteousness and maintained in righteousness forever, man. I think it's 62. 62. So let's get this Isaiah. All right. I started at 10, Isaiah 62 and 10. It says, go through the gates, prepare ye the way of the people, cast up, all right, the highway, gather out the stones, lift up a standard for the people. Yeah. So this doctrine, the prophets teaching this doctrine is preparing the way for the elect. Okay. This doctrine is making the road smooth to get back to Yahweh Bashim Al-Shai. Gather out the stones. Okay, Christianity, nigger culture, westernization, all those are stumbling blocks, have been stumbling blocks to our people, man. To where we just stumble and each generation gets worse. They're stumbling, to oblivion, man. You see, but this doctrine is removing these stones out of the way of the path. Okay, making a smooth road. It said, lift up a standard for the people. Behold, the Lord hath proclaimed unto the end of the world. Say ye to the daughter of Zion, behold, thy salvation cometh. Behold, his reward is with him, and his work before him. You see that? And his work, he's going to be judging these nations, and his reward is with him, man. And he's going to bring back life. He's going to bring back power. He's going to bring back authority. Okay? Righteousness, man. Abundance. True wealth, man. We're going to get to be. Okay? We're going to get to be sovereign, man. Okay, from the nation of our women being hoes, man, to the nation of our women being perfected. Okay, to women being groomed up just for us, man. Okay, and not just for a thing of pleasure, man, but to forward more righteousness, to multiply more righteousness, man. Okay, pleasure that come with it. You see? So, yeah, I'll leave it there, man. So that was inspired by lesson done by the beloved brother El Zahab. All right, check out his channel, Spirit Wind Judah. All right, well, Spirit Wind Levi. Salaki. It was Judah for so long, but Spirit Wind Levi. Check out his channel. Be constantly edified. So that's the point. Lord will you brothers. All right, and you few sisters edified. Till next time, I say Shalom. Form Yashala. Bob soon. Shalom.